Welcome, Wapham crew, guys, gals, ghouls, friends, fiends, and foes. Secure your tinfoil hats, climb aboard the mothership, buckle down tight, and hold on loosely as we soar over the rocky tops of the La Platas on a rocky mountain high. Get sucked into the vortex of the Four Corners and settle down snugly at mile marker 420 in colorful Colorado. I'm your host, TessaTNT, and we are broadcasting live from the Mile High Clubhouse tonight. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, and welcome to We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. And thank you so much for tuning in to my podcast tonight. It's an honor to have you and your listening ears. I was going to say if you're listening live tonight, but I don't believe you are. Because StreamYard or Spreaker, sorry. I got StreamYard on the brain because I can't do YouTube tonight. I can't do anything on StreamYard until the 3rd. So we got a couple days, but Spreaker used to be live, but now you just record it basically at the same time you go live everywhere else, and then you upload it later. But that's the only place you can listen shortly after the show. There's actually a few others, even YouTube, as far as the show goes, but you won't see any video for tonight. But if you want to listen in your free time, whether you are working it, or working out, you can listen to me on Spreaker.com and wherever else you may be listening to all your podcasts out there beyond the Omniverse. So, yeah. Also, we have a change in plans for this evening. We were going to do trippy TikToks, but like I said, being that we can't use StreamYard until the 3rd, I figured there's a lot of good stuff that's been popping up on Reddit lately, and so I figured we'd get into that. Got scary stories, I've got ghost stories, I got UFOs, I got aliens, all kinds of things. So I think we'll start with one topic, then move to the next, or just see what the lineup is as far as what they have out there for me. The first story I have here, before we get to the story, before I forget again, and it's funny because the book is like right here in front of me, but so the quote of the hour is, "Write it on your heart that every day is the best day of the year." That's a good one. I like that one. Live like you're dying. Alright, so this is under Reddit Scary Stories. It's by user Midori Mori. Night Drive. The night had started off like any other. A calm, cool evening with an inviting breeze and the scent of summer in the air. A beat-up old Honda broke the quiet of the night with the roar of its engine as it practically flew down an old country road. Inside, two friends could be heard laughing and chatting as they drove. Robin took a drag off her cigarette before blowing the smoke out the window as her and her best friend Keith sped down the empty road. The roads were dark, with the only light coming from the moon and the occasional passing headlights. The best friends laughed and chatted without a care in the world, passing a cigarette back and forth as the car picked up speed. The two had no destination in mind, merely looking for a way to escape from life for a bit. Robin had one arm resting on the car window and the other on the wheel, while Keith watched the road ahead disappear underneath the car. The two had been driving for a while, and the bright suburban streets alongside the car had been replaced with rows of towering trees. Thinking nothing of it, the two continued on driving and joking as they had been. That was until they noticed the fog. It snaked down the road in willowy gusts of smoke, quickly engulfing the car and hiding the road and surrounding tree line from view. Jesus, I can't see shit, Robin said, squinting as she tried to make out anything through the thick smog. Yeah, it's like pea soup out there, Keith remarked unhelpfully. Maybe we should turn back. Not now, I can't turn around in this, Robin said, putting out the cigarette and tossing it out the window before rolling it up to keep the fog at bay. Hey, I was going to finish that, Keith whined. And put more smoke in my face? I don't think so, Robin said, smirking playfully. Finally, the fog cleared up and the winding road revealed itself once more. Robin let out a sigh of relief at the return of her visibility, but immediately felt unnerved when she realized she no longer recognized her surroundings. Since driving around the country was somewhat of a hobby of hers, the complete lack of recognition was an unfamiliar feeling. She shared a glance with Keith, who seemed to share in her discomfort. His body was tense, his eyes glued to the passing scenery outside the window of the car. Suddenly, a dark shape leapt from the shadows of the tree line and into the brightness of Robin's headlights. It moved with the speed and agility of a wild animal, but had an almost human appearance. Shit! Robin exclaimed as she slammed on the brake, in a last-ditch effort to avoid the figure. Keith let out a shriek as he too noticed the incoming form. The shadow was illuminated for mere moments before it collided with the oncoming vehicle, revealing its long, gangly limbs and unnatural shape. The pair lurched towards with force of the crash as the hood of the car met flesh and bone, a sickening crunch ringing out with the screech of bending metal. The silence that followed was deafening, with the only noise coming from the pair's laboring breathing. Are you okay, Rob? Keith asked, his voice quivering despite his attempts to keep it steady. Yeah, she started before pausing to take a shaky breath. Yeah, I think so. Her hands held the wheel in a death grip, knuckles turning white from the lack of circulation. They sat in shock for a minute before Keith posed the question that had been hanging over them. What was that? Silence fell over them once more before Robin merely shook her head and got out of the car. Keith followed suit, but hovered by the passenger door as Robin made her way to the hood. Fortunately, the car hadn't been damaged too badly, but the hood had still sustained some serious denting, and one of the headlights was looking rather worse for wear. There was no sign of life anywhere around, meaning whatever they'd hit had likely run off back into the forest. However, what really caught Robin's eye was the blood. At least, she was pretty sure it was blood. The substance was inky and black in color, and dribbled down the front of the car from the center of the dent. Is it dead? Keith called nervously, still sticking as close to the open door as possible. It's gone, replied Robin as she crouched down to investigate the mysterious substance. It probably ran off. Her eyes drifted to the tree line, watching the pitch-black shadows and wondering what else they could be hiding. Is the car okay? Robin could help but snort at that. If by okay you mean drivable, then yes. Keith relaxed a bit at this news, yet he still remained tense. What the hell was that? He asked again, his voice smaller and more afraid now that he was outside. The once refreshing breeze now felt like cold breath against his skin, and the all-encompassing darkness seemed to shift and dance in the corners of his vision. Robin stood up and shook off her jitters before looking up at her frightened friend. It was probably just a deer, she said, not believing her own words as they left her mouth. In all honesty, she was just as terrified as Keith, but she still needed to drive them home and couldn't afford to panic. A deer? Keith exclaimed in disbelief. What kind of deer looks like that? Robin shrugged and began walking back around her car. Look, let's just get home, okay? We can speculate when we get out of... She looked around. Wherever this is. Her voice was calm and steady, and she refused to let the rising fear in her body take control. Keith nodded eagerly at this, quickly scrambling back into his seat and slamming the door. Robin turned the key in the ignition and the car roared back to life, much to the relief of them both. She swiftly pulled a U-turn and started back down the road they had come from, her eyes glued ahead. They drove in silence for a bit, but neither could shake the overwhelming feeling of dread pulling in their stomachs. Keith looked away for the passing road and glanced in the rearview mirror before his whole body stiffened and his face paled in terror. "Robin," he whispered, his voice barely audible, "it's here. It's in the back seat." Robin felt her heart leap into her throat at these words. Her eyes quickly darted to the mirror, and she was met with the distorted face of the thing she had hit. It wasn't human. It wasn't an animal. It was unlike any creature she'd seen before. Pale, sagging skin covered with bulging veins lay over unnaturally sunken sockets and cheeks as it grinned with an open mouth of decaying yellow teeth. From its mouth dripped the same black liquid Robin had found on the hood of the car. Its limbs were impossibly long for its body, and it was practically folded in on itself in the back seat. Worst of all were its eyes, piercing bloodshot yellow and staring right at her. Before she could even react, the creature reached over with lightning speed and grabbed the steering wheel. It yanked the wheel to the side with such inhumane strength it was a miracle it didn't come straight off. The car swerved off the road and towards the shadow-filled tree line at an alarming speed. Robin and Keith screamed and squeezed their eyes shut, bracing for impact, but it never came. The shadows from the woods simply engulfed the car, surrounding them as the fog had previously, and swallowing them whole. Well, that was a pretty good story. Good writing there. I quite enjoyed that. This one is Scary Story by u/Dirty Bates. My brother died at 15, but no one noticed. The night Devin overdosed, I watched Dad carry him to the car barefoot, his limbs limp like wet rope. My mom trailed behind with her phone, dialing and redialing, whispering panic prayers into the cold. In the morning, his room was empty. He just needed to go somewhere, Mom said. Her voice was brittle, stretched thin. This is a good thing. It means he's taking it seriously. I asked where he went. Neither of them looked at me. Later that afternoon, he walked through the front door. No suitcase, no answers, same clothes. He moved like nothing had happened. When Mom asked where he'd been, he gave a tired shrug. Around. They were relieved, confused maybe, but they didn't push. He was here. That was enough. Not for me. That night I found him crouched by the hallway closet digging through old boxes. "What are you doing?" I asked. He turned, startled, eyes wide, like a cornered animal. "Sorry," he whispered. "I didn't mean to. I was just looking." He left the box half open and slunk away. The next morning, Mom caught me glaring at him and pulled me aside. "You don't have to make this harder," she said gently. "We're doing our best. He's still your brother." But he wasn't. Not anymore. After that, I stopped talking, stopped asking. No one wanted the truth, and I was alone in seeing it. Late one night, I heard him on the stairs again. Quiet steps, careful. I waited, heart pounding, then followed at a distance. He moved silently in the dark like he belonged in it before I realized he was out of sight. It wasn't until I heard the basement door open that I knew where he was once I made my way down to the basement to the little room at the back. We hadn't opened that door in years. I took a deep breath and prepared myself for the confrontation while hoping that my family would understand. It was cold, dusty, still, while the place was mostly the way I remember it was clear. My brother had been spending time down here. Most of the things I was looking for were all down there, my journals, old phones, and yearbooks. I couldn't imagine what the purpose of stealing them was, and then I saw him. In the corner against the wall, curled like he'd just fallen asleep, his skin was sunken, clothes stained, mouth slightly open. He was dead. And he had been dead for a while. I couldn't look at him anymore. I couldn't understand. Had this all been some sort of dream as I turned to make my way back upstairs? I heard the door being shut in front of me. As the latch was closed, I had a chill run through me. I slammed up against the door, punched, kicked, screamed, before slumping to the floor exhausted and teary-eyed. Upstairs, it was as if nothing had changed. My family must not have realized that, and then heard it, my own voice. I had been replaced just like my brother in desperation. I spent the next hours trying to get someone to realize the truth. After 2 days, I gave up hope. Now I believe they prefer it this way. This one is by OK-percentage1536. You. My partner Philip and I had just gotten off from our job at the laundry facility. We were simply itching to have a few drinks to take off the edge of hundreds of soiled garments we came into direct contact with throughout the day. I swear they IV drip prune juice to bedridden patients, Philip said. Prune juice, I scoffed. Are you implying they actually feed them solids? At 8 p.m., I had consumed exactly 1 beer as it started to downpour. Philip had overdone his share and lay on the bed next to me, drifting to sleep. Just then, the gate leading next door to the business beside our apartment creaked open. A gust blew through it, blowing on the grass leading out into the backyard, giving the appearance of invisible footsteps away from the gate. The gust must have died down as the commotion in the grass did too. Strangely enough, where the gust ended, there were several inches of grass still pressed to the ground. Odd, I muttered to myself. The more I stared at this spot on the lawn, the more my eyes just must have been playing tricks on me. The wind picked up again, but in this one spot the grass did not move from its pressed-down position. Even the grass surrounding the pressed-down area seemed to move around the area as if someone was standing on it. I began to drift to sleep, and as I did, I heard a voice in the distance say, "You." I woke up to rain on my face. I gasped and heard Philip call out, "What are you doing?" Now, I'm not one to sleepwalk, but I have had a few moments where I became restless in my sleep and wrapped myself up in a blanket. However, my sleepy self is not eager to go out in rain quite like I'm eager to roll up in a blanket. So it was a shock when I awoke with my head outside the window and my hair drizzled in fresh rain. If it weren't for the overhead fixture, I would have been drenched. I pulled myself back into the room and muttered the only thing I could think of. I must have rolled out the window. Philip stared at me wide-eyed. Maybe we should shut the window from now on. My face flushed. This has never happened before. Philip smiled and pulled me in. I just don't want to see you sprain your butt. We laughed and I closed the window. I had a dream that night. The silhouette of a pointing person. The wind picking up in the backyard of my apartment. All the foliage swaying towards the window I almost fell out of. The sound of footsteps approaching, the shattering of glass, the sound of a commotion, the voice again, but this time it said, "You," and then Philip calling out to me. "Jimmy, why are you outside the window again?" I awoke drenched and felt Philip's arms pulling me back into the bed. "What happened?" I asked, barely awake. Philip yelled over the rain as if we were in a war zone. "You were crawling out the window. You didn't feel that?" Outside, the trees cracked under the heaviest wind. I might have ever seen. I glanced around the backyard in awe, and in the same spot the grass stayed pressed earlier was something reflecting against the flickering of the back porch lights. "Do you see that?" I motioned to the corner of the yard next to the gate. "Yeah, must be something that blew in just now," Philip said nonchalantly. The next morning was filled with honking and traffic. The storm had raged for hours, leaving branches and even trees in the road outside. I went outside to marvel at the chaos and remembered what I had seen in the backyard in the middle of the night. I put on my boots and wandered to the backyard. I could see the glint of light reflecting off the material in the same spot as last night. "That's weird," I called out to Philip. "What is?" he called back from the front porch. "That stuff from the middle of the night hasn't moved." "That is weird," Philip replied. As I got closer, I could make out shards of glass surrounding something. The closer I got, the more I saw glass was still connected to a frame. I froze as I realized what was in front of me was a butcher knife, surrounded by a broken window frame. I went back inside. That night I lay awake staring out the window. Funny how fear can quietly change your behavior. That day nothing seemed out of the ordinary, but when night came I couldn't help but stare out the window that I almost crawled out of. We decided it was best to put a child-proof locking mechanism on the window to avoid any further interactions during my sleep. As the night grew longer, I fizzled away into deep sleep. I had another dream. This time I was standing where the butcher knife was and pointing towards the window. In front of the window was Philip. He was watching me. Suddenly, a scream woke me up. I looked around and Philip was gone. In the bathroom, I assumed, and the window was no longer locked, but it was still shut. I laid awake for several hours, waiting to hear any more noises. I relocked the window, and when no more noises occurred, I drifted back to sleep. The next morning, I heard a commotion as I wandered to the living room to turn on the lights. I peered out the window and saw cop cars and police tape next door. I woke Philip, and we were off to investigate. Outside, neighbors gathered. 3 body bags were whisked away, and my neighbor informed me that the neighbors had been murdered. I remained silent about the previous nights. Once inside, I looked over to Philip, who was peering out the window, and said, "Do you think we're suspects?" Philip didn't respond, just kept looking out the window. "Hey, you didn't unlock the window last night, did you?" I asked meekly. "Why the hell would I do that?" yelled Philip. "It was unlocked last night." "Why are you so angry?" I yelped. "You should just mind your business," he spat. "Well, I've been having these dreams. Sorry." I began as Philip ignored me and walked past me towards the kitchen, stopping next to me. "And last night," I continued, "I heard a scream, and you were gone." Philip still didn't respond. "Where did you go?" I looked over at Philip, but it wasn't Philip. He twitched and scowled, and anger grew me. I had never seen. I shuddered. Suddenly, Philip ran to the kitchen. I heard rustling and clattering, and he appeared with a knife in his hand. You should have minded your business." He charged at me. I grabbed the knife with my bare hands as it almost plunged into my gut. "This isn't you!" I cried out. I kneed him in the groin, and he doubled over, giving enough slack in the knife. I then dropped my elbow into the back of his head and turned out towards the kitchen, screaming. He tackled me halfway to the door by the legs. I kept crawling. I could hear the neighbors outside and the door knocking. "Help!" I screamed. The neighbors rushed in as Philip fled out the back window, shattering it into pieces. Philip didn't survive. The coroner later called it a freak accident. The glass had pierced his skull. I sat in the wind outside my apartment, waiting for an ambulance, surrounded by neighbors. I wanted to cry forever. Across the street, I saw the grass pressed down. I watched it intently, and in the wind I heard, "You." Creepy. These are some pretty good stories. I like it. This is by user Orzov_Syndic ridiculous. Syndicalist. We were all alive and all pitiful. When Dylan's wife Mara told me he'd died, I instantly knew 3 things. 1, it was sewer slide. 2, it led back to Fall Creek Water Plant, where we killed Julie and Verrett. And 3, the game Verrett started with us still wasn't finished, not even after 20 years. You would have known kids like us, Cameron, Felix, Dominic, Dylan, and me. Cameron, who got locked in closets for anything less than an A-. Dom, who liked eyeliner but enjoyed minor arson and strong cigarettes even more. Felix, fluent in 3 languages and in handcuffs just as many times. Dylan never stopped playing the game, not even after we killed Julie and Verrett, and me, the quiet kid who transferred schools in November, and lied about it being because of my dad's job. You think anyone was going to connect the dots? Not when Julie and Verrett's death was ruled accidental. Not when Ricky Boyce took a 30-year plea for kidnapping and manslaughter. Not when 4 of Verrett's former math students left school mid-year for nervous exhaustion. I slept in my parents' room for 2 years. I didn't sleep outside alone for another 3. Cameron finished school at home with a team of elite tutors. Felix vanished until I got a call from boot camp, his voice practically giddy that he was free from his parents. We never talked about what happened in the sub-basement, and we never ever mentioned that we saw happen to poor Dominic. Doomed Dominic. Not out loud, anyway. Our parents went silent, and though I swore I'd tell the truth someday, I didn't. I followed their lead. That was before Dylan hanged himself with a dog leash, and any chance at excuses ran out. Turn 1. Dylan left a box for us. Mara told us he'd been collecting it his whole adult life, trying to figure out what happened to you guys as kids, she said. Everything he'd been working on was in a big black and yellow Costco tub in their basement. Mara told us we had 2 hours before Dylan's family got in. Tomorrow they were burying him at Our Lady of Peace Cemetery. Before then, she wanted the box gone forever. Felix was pacing. Cameron went quiet. I opened it. The smell hit us immediately. Verrett's Winston brand cigarettes, the mildew funk of wet paper, the stench of sulfur gas from the municipal water treatment reached out and wouldn't let go. Felix splashed puke into the downstairs sink. Cameron stared at the contents. An odd sunny day breeze swirled around the basement. Are those... Is this from Fall Creek? He whispered. They were. I hadn't seen the cards from the Sylvan Shore in 20 years, but they still slithered through my dreams, gold-edged and mold-slick. Every week since I was 15. I never even knew how the game ended, except that the body count was 3 and rising. I picked up the rubber-banded stack of cards. I went dizzy. The smoke and mold and water smell bloomed. Felix spasmed and dry-heaved. I waved cigarette smoke out of my eyes. The odd warm breeze changed direction. I didn't understand where I was. I was in a basement. Yes, it was today, right before the funeral. No. Turn 2. It was 20 years ago. I could feel Verrett's long yellow fingernails on my neck. It started a quarter mile from the state fairgrounds. I turned off Keystone and into the cracked-up Fall Creek water plant under the faded sign that proclaimed, "Everything that grows needs water." We hustled through the padlocked bay door, scrambled down the stairwell past the locked fire door, slipped through the dead-bolted steel slab marked Backwash Chamber Sub B1. The sub-basement reeked. Mold, fluorine, and chain-smoke cigarettes pervaded. But here we were. Felix yanked, shook, and cracked a beer from a cooler packed with ice, and said this was exactly what the fuck we needed. Verrett said congratulations were in order. We clapped for Ricky. He'd really set the place up. Ricky grinned big time as he helped Verret with his coat. Verret lifted his good shoulder as Ricky gently pulled the sleeve past the bad one. Verret's shirt hung on the butt of a revolver. I must have been staring right at it because Ricky winked at me and covered it with a flick of Verret's flannel shirt. Verret was our advanced math teacher. He wore these huge, steel-rimmed glasses and always had one hand tucked inside a pocket. Students would whisper he'd been in a mental institution, that he was fucking loaded, that he had a false hand, and he'd cut the old one off himself. Verret understood us. He understood that everyone in our little group only got the wrong kind of attention from adults. For most of us, he was the first male adult who wasn't constantly shouting at us. Before he was in my class, Ricky couldn't even factor a trinomial. Now look at him, setting up our critical event with personal grace. I'd clap, if only I was able. Ricky was all smiles as he rolled up a sticky joint. He ran our Dungeons and Dragons games. His plots drip-filtered from weekly LSD swan dives. Dominic and I passed the joint, pinch to pinch, exhaled thick cones of cannabis indica smoke. A week ago, Dom and I dyed our hair, lunar tides eclipse black, over his mom's chipped kitchen sink. Ricky said he should be really excited. He said he played Verret's game just one time and it changed his whole life. All that was left for us to do was playtest and final prototype, and in return, all the weed, beer, and Dungeons and Dragons we could stand. We were all virgins but Dominic, and it was heaven. Credit? Felix asked. You said we'd get credit? Each one of your names in Sylvan Shore's game manual on the very first page, Verret said. For what exactly? I asked. For refining the game. So we're just unpaid labor? Dominic asked. On the teacher's salary, this is the best I can do. Dominic rolled his eyes. So you'll be the designer, writer, person who gets all the credit and money? No, Verret laughed. His breath stank like coffee and mold. Just the translator. Ricky said you invented it. What did you and Ricky discover it on? Some acid trip? Dylan giggled. No, Verret said, tapping the front of his skull. I just translated as it was spoken to me, and the rules were placed into my head one by one. Everyone eyeballed each other. Is this shit for real? By who? Dominic scoffed. Verret sighed, closed his eyes. He leaned back and sighed. The goddess. Some of the other guys laughed. I didn't. A fist of ice squeezed my stomach as I thought about Verret, the gun, and those 3 locked doors. Turn 3. This was how the game started. This is how every tick of the clock for 20 years was another turn, until Dylan waved the flag when he hanged himself next to his Toyota Camry. See? Verret worked for the water company. Indianapolis needed an expert on pipes, flow, and pressure, so you get Julian Verret. That's how he had his accident. It's how he saw the goddess. His memory of it was just 2 distinct noises, angry groaning from the lathe as it snatched his cuff, then one wet snap as his arm shattered and his shoulder pried out of socket. Verret said the lathe whipped all the clothes off. He was cold and naked as his head slammed over and over against the hard metal slab of the machine. By the time most of his teeth were gone, and he was blind from his own filmy blood, well, that was when he finally met the goddess. She reached down with one slender hand from above the bubbling red death and clicked off the machine. He looked us each in the eye and reached a short, shaking arm out. I could have never reached that button on my own, boys. He said the goddess saved him with one hand and placed a vision into his mind with the other. They scraped what was left of him off the lathe and got him to Methodist Hospital with 22 fractures, a cranium fracture, and one arm that would be little more than dead, weighed at the best. He said the game could pierce the inexplicable veil, and that he, Julian Verret, would be the one to bring the truth of the goddess across his chasm. He shuffled the cards. Click, click. Each one of us has the same odds. Every card is a moment in life, moving forward from this point in time. Every play, a lifetime in miniature. You put your will to the test and win, or succumb to the whims of the goddess. Time to experience the future. Pretty cards, black, white, gold, blue, red. Their names glinted and tantalized. The Twilight Bay. The Question of Seashells. Dashed against the rocks. A strong, warm wind blew through the chamber. Brett gasped as they freckled the dingy floor. I picked one up, the undertow, gold fingers grasping just above the waves, grasping for something already gone, catching only an ocean breeze. Jesus, this looks unpleasant, I said. Ricky lit a joint. Tell him, Julian. Some take all, some give all. Only one card wins. What does this one do? Dylan said, poking the edges of Dashed Against the Rocks. He traced a woodcut image of a man battered, his body painting jagged rocks crimson as the sea foam below curled pink. Instant death, Ricky said. The player is removed from the game. No further turns are taken. Julian cleared the table off. He unfolded a thick black game board in front of us. Thin slots sunk to stand the cards up nicely. But it has already been proven before I even start. Julian began stacking out piles 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for each of us. Each card is destiny, sure as the tide. What will happen has happened and is always happening, but only I will arrive at the sylvan shore. Dom rolled his eyes and scoffed. He couldn't possibly be sold. Barrett used his good hand to lift the gun from its holster. The room got so quiet, all you could hear was the cigarette paper smoldering. If anyone thinks they can stop what has started, Barrett said. Bullshit, said Dominic as Barrett moved the gun less than a foot from his face. First turn, see what the goddess has chosen for you. Are you going to kill me? What if the game says I win? Barrett tapped out Dominic's cards. Dominic, let's find out. They don't mean anything. Oh, they certainly do. You'll see exactly what the goddess has in store for each of us. It's a toy! Brett raged. Pick it up! The goddess demands it. Dominic pursed his lips. He picked the card off his pile. With a glance, he went, psst, and flicked the card over his shoulder. Ricky leaned to catch a glance of it. Uh-oh. Brett didn't take his eyes off Dom. He asked what the card was. Dashed Against the Rocks, Ricky said. Brett pulled the trigger an inch away. Long, dark strands of his hair smoldered onto the game board. His head made a terrible sizzling noise as he tilted straight back. Brett slid the barrel of the gun across our faces and shouted that we better stop crying. He told Ricky to clean up the mess. The odd warm breeze started up against as Ricky yanked Dom's jacket up past his shoulder. Barrett stared right down the gun barrel. I tried to shout, but only dry yelps escaped. Barrett tugged a tight knot across Dom's soaked head, jamming the denim deep into the hole in his forehead. Ricky grunted and shoved Dominic's body over the rails and into the huge, backwashed pool beneath us. We watched the gray water grind away and churn red before the ringing in our ears stopped. Barrett said in a merry tone that it was my turn at the card. I froze. Cell by dreadful cell. I remember wishing Barrett would push the barrel into my hair and pull the trigger. In this now, I'll take my chances with the inconceivable. But the suffering was Barrett's plan. In foam-jammed subfloors beneath the city, he held a smoking gun and the only keys to daylight. We were going to play this game until we were dead or insane, one turn at a time. We were in the deepest waters. Did I say turn 4? Turn 4. We were in the deepest waters. We had played for days, maybe more. Time collapsed under the weight of terms, rules, and proclamations of the goddess. I wandered card-borne landscapes, colossal dunes that required my deepest secrets to escape, inlets that forced me to wade in early memory, a mangrove forest that rooted me to the tide until I shouted what I feared the most. We were all alive and all pitiful. We told Verret and the goddess everything, clinging to whatever frayed thread of self we still had. Verret cackled that the goddess was drawing near. He could feel her, he said, in the saltwater breeze that spun through the basement like a warning. Only Dylan and Verret had cards left to turn. I saw Dylan muttering, lips moving without sound, like he was rehearsing something he'd never get to say. Verret was shaking, sweating, a vein on his forehead throbbing like lightning. You'll see the path she has for me, a moonlit passage to the sylvan shore. Ricky fiddled with another joint. He'd taken control of the pistol while Verret stared in ecstasy at the cards. I don't want to play this anymore, Dylan said. It will happen whether you want to or not. No, please, I'm all done. It's too much. Dylan was sobbing now. Ricky looked up, coughing, his head wreathed in smoke. Verret was shouting. You have to see the path of the goddess has laid out for you. He was up on his feet now, jabbing his finger at the board. Felix got next to Ricky. Me, Cameron, Felix locked eyes. It was right now or never ever. Hey, Ricky, can I, you mind if I hit that? Ricky peered at Felix, his red eyes thin as coin slots. Sure, man. Verret's fingers tapped at Dylan's card. You're only delaying the inevitable, he hissed. Cameron was staring at me, pleading. I saw, I understood. I'll kill if I have to. Felix shot smoke across Ricky's face. Ricky gagged, blinked, and Felix jammed the hot tip of the joint onto Ricky's upper lip. Ricky yelped and Verret turned to shout, Knock it off right now. Then we killed him. Cameron swung at the back of Verret's head. Jarrett wobbled and went to the floor. Felix growled and pounded his fists into Ricky's face until his knuckles were stripped to the bone. Ricky moaned, somewhere subconscious. Dylan jogged and swung his sneakers toward Verret's jaw. Yellow teeth sprayed. Ricky went limp. I took the gun. Verret was unsteady on his knees. Cameron and Dylan dragged him, wriggled to the rails over the backwash. I put the gun under his jaw. I couldn't squeeze the trigger, and my breath caught. Verret clawed his fingernails around my neck. Verret moaned, Please just turn the cards. Cameron pulled the pistol from my hand, hammered Verret between the eyes. His eyeglasses burst into lenses and little specks of frames. Come on, Felix shouted. His hands spooled blood. Cameron sneered as he and Dylan clamped down on Verret's leg. Verret spasmed and kicked the table. Dylan's final card fell to the floor. A man bound by chains and vines. Verret arched his neck to see it, the blood running hot from where his eyeglasses raked off. I knew right then how to finish this. Verret's last card sat face down, his ticket to eternity. I slid it from the table and, hiding the face, tucked it into my pocket. Verret saw me, his eyes went wide and wet. He sobbed. Felix and Dylan held him down, rough. Cameron punched the pistol into Verret's face hard. The rest of Verret's teeth hit the floor before his body did. With the four of us lifting, Verret was a light body. He was easy to drop over the rail and into the churning water below. Turn 5. I was in Dylan's basement. Cameron was shaking my arm. Felix had the sink traps cranked up, churning the water to wash away his vomit. I could still feel Verret's fingernails, still hear the shot in the body splashing. I looked down. My hand was shaking. The card's edge was digging into my thumb. Cameron said we needed to see who Dylan had been writing to. Cameron taped the envelope. The return address was Ricky Boyce, inmate 957762, Michigan City, Indiana. I stared at it. Felix stared at it. Cameron went on and on about a sick fucking joke. Ricky Boyce had some memory. He'd rewritten the entire Sylvan Shores game manual on gray prison paper and 2-inch pencils. All 6 pages. Cameron grabbed the pages and flipped to the front. He knew what was coming. There's no way, he said. No goddamn way. Our names were there, credited, as promised, under playtesters and extra thanks. I flipped through the pages. Card descriptions fluttered past my eyes. I saw and read out loud the hell that bound us. Bound witness. Effect. The game enters a suspended state. No further turns until this player dies. When resumed, all pending effects resolve immediately. The suspended state? Have we been? Felix asked. Shut up, Felix, Cameron shouted. I screamed to let him say it. Let him say what we've all known for decades. Same thing I knew when I woke up in the dark, when I felt the odd warm breeze from nowhere, when I realized we never left the basement, not until Dylan let us go. Fuck you, Seth, it's just a game, Cameron. It's just the game we've been playing for 21 fucking years, and we didn't even know it. All pending effects resolve, I said. What's the last card? Asked Felix. What was Veret's card? There's no more effects, Felix. We're here. We're alive. It's over, Cameron said. I flicked out the card I'd been holding for 20 years. Their eyes went shock out white. Lights were on, but nobody was home. Veret's? Cameron asked. I nodded. We got out, didn't we, Seth? Cameron said. I grabbed prison stationery to read what I already knew. Moonlit Crossing. Effect. When revealed, the player becomes the goddess' chosen messenger. They are granted passage to the Sylvan Shore and are declared the winner. Congratulations. Felix laughed. Cameron went pale and his lips turned into thin blue lines. He asked if it meant, oh my god, did it mean that he thought what he thought it meant? Felix told him to just look upstairs. Take a look in the garage. The air in the garage smelled sweet, an herbal perfume blend that didn't belong here. I swept the bolt rails with my phone light. There, red nylon fibers snagged and frayed, where the dog leash had cinched around his neck. Below it, there was an altar, a crescent of mismatched candles. Fat, thin, jarred and melting, encircled a piece of feather-like driftwood and a scatter of seashells. Carved into the driftwood crudely but carefully with the jagged edge of a shell, where he became unbound. Oh, hey there, someone said from behind. I turned. A man in a light windbreaker and hiking boots stepped into view, holding white, soft shells in his hands. Didn't mean to startle you. Usually I'm the only one here. I was at a loss for words. I just wanted to see where it happened. The man held a smooth blue shell in his palm. If you'd like, I have an extra. Turn 6. I held the Moonlit Crossing card all through its funeral. It burned like charcoal in my palm and heavy in my pocket. I knew I had to ask Mara about it, about Dylan, about everything. The calling at Flanner Buchanan was full of strangers. They smiled and whispered. The men wore gold pins on their lapels and the women on thin little chains. The small gold pins featured cresting waves. Others had elaborate seashell designs. They sobbed and bawled, and I couldn't get an inch of Mara's time. They shook hands with Dylan's family. They hugged Mara, and everyone patted everyone's back. I followed her home. I waited. I had to ask her. I gave her 10 minutes, and I felt like I would burn. I weighed 1,000 pounds. It blistered my skin. I could barely walk upright holding this thing another instant. She was unloading this Midwestern feast from the cardboard box into her fridge. Casserole cheesy potatoes, a platter of deviled eggs, brownies and blondies squashed flat and divided by wax paper. She asked if what we found in the box gave us closure. She asked if Cameron and Felix felt the same way I did. I felt for the dire card in my pockets. I told her closure was always a long path. I said something stupid about the first step being the hardest. Mara nodded, absently rubbing her gold necklace. You're right, Seth. Finding closure can sometimes be the only way to move forward. She slipped a deviled egg into her mouth and stared through the window. Not a leaf or blade of grass swayed in the still and sunny air. Look at those trees. Wow, would you look at that breeze? She grinned. She took a towel from the countertop to wipe the corners of her mouth before laying it flat next to the shells laying there to dry. Purple spotted, yellow striped, pale blue, and distant shells were still half slick in the drying light. They looked like exotic soap suds on the counter, their ocean grit and sand clogging the sink. Mara, where did these shells come from? Seth, I'm not afraid to say it. I'm doing extraordinarily well. I found a new path, and I'm not going to apologize for saving myself. Did Dylan find these? Mara nodded. He thought he might find something else, but all he came home with were these seashells, she said. Can I see where? Mara handed me her phone like a gift. A video was playing. I felt it before I saw it. This breeze didn't belong in a closed house. Curled past my ankles like it had crossed an ocean to find me. Brett stood on a dark shoreline under a full moon, arms raised, water lapping around his ankles. The trees behind him bent in the breeze. The light of the full moon spun across him, flesh and robe fabric indistinguishable, as if he were emerging raw from the night's pale chrysalis. He found it, Mara said softly. He crossed, and now he's building us a bridge to the sylvan shore. I stared at the screen, unable to look away. Verette turned slowly toward the camera. Mara leaned close. Dylan told me something, you know, just before he died. Her breath was deviled-egg sour. She smiled, eyes glassy. He said that Verette would be proud of him. Tears were welling. Mara's eyes as a mute Verette droned, "Thank you, thank you, thank you," on repeat, for letting everyone finish the game. Oh, what a weight on Dylan, knowing that all he would ever find was just... A high whine and gurgle shimmied under the kitchen and launched out the sink. The drain bubbled once and blasted salt water, black sand, shell grit across the kitchen. It sprayed and sprayed until dark rain dripped from the drywall ceiling. Mara shouted. I asked her where the shutoff was. She was already moving towards the basement. Black sand flecked my body and salt water burned my nostrils. The spray screamed tea kettle ferocious and shattered a window. I was heaving at the sink of rotting kelp and algae. The walls dripped sludge and shattered shells as the spray eased off. I heard Mara shouting and laughing from downstairs. An ocean breeze cut right in through the broken window. I finally put it together. Downstairs, Mara was talking, laughing. I could hear her and another splashing in the shallow waters of the basement. Mara called for me to come downstairs. There's someone you need to meet in the water, she said. He was important, she said. I already knew him. They were talking, laughing, the voice alongside her all too familiar. The pieces finally fit. Maybe I could join them. Maybe I would never have to worry again. I could just sink beneath the waters. The card's edges cut my finger. It was damp along the edges. For 20 years, I'd kept it pristine. The ink was running now, the beautiful images warped. I splashed water across the hideous thing as Mara kept calling for me. The ink bled first. Words and symbols ran with the dust and shell ridges. The paper softened and peeled to curls in my hands. I let the last piece of the game go. I just hoped it let go of me. Well, on that note, boys and girls, we are going to our first music break. And on this break, we have the lovely and talented Miss Michaelan Hay from Ontario, Canada, with Devil You Know, Collapse, Nothing But Blood, and Close. And then we have Sugar by Fred Johnson III, who hails from Canyon County, California. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this music break.
Your troubled heart bleeds like a river. It's rushing towards fields painted greener. It doesn't see the demons behind, praying you're getting close to the line. standing right in the eye of a blizzard. You're inches from a shelter, so near to warmth of a home in a chandelier, shining down its light on love, wishing you'd be closer. The curtain's nice, but what it hides is worse than sticks and stones. There's too much sky, too blue, too white. The birds on the wire are singing, but I don't know why. Why aren't the roses hanging their heads? They're standing straight up, blooming instead. Now that we're apart, there's nothing but blood in my heart. Why does that guy have a smile on his face? Why is the sun even shining today? Why are the headlines talking about love? Don't they all know what happened to us? Now that we're apart, there's nothing but blood in my heart. The moon goes up, the sun goes down, the stars light up, the world goes round. Every day, life moves on, it don't stop for anyone. The moon goes up, the sun goes down, the stars light up, the world goes round. Every day, life moves on, it don't stop for anyone. Now that we're apart, there's nothing. Now that we're apart, there's nothing but blood in my heart. Ooh, blood in my heart. Ooh, blood in my heart. Saw you for the first time in a while, in a while. You seemed so surprised I worked out a smile, out a smile, out a smile. 'Cause I've grown and I've changed, yeah, we went separate ways. How come we're both back here? 'Cause you pushed me away, let my life rearrange, but still we're both back here. Close to me, I want you close to me. I can see that you wanted me. Follow me, baby, until the sun doesn't shine anymore. I'll be there. When time is a memory, I'll know this love. You will always be the one, my sugar. The feeling is so strong. Waiting here on this cold, lonely night without you. Where did our love go wrong, my sugar?
Welcome back, Weapon Crew. Thanks so much for hanging out with me tonight, and yeah, enjoying some quiet time. I don't know about you, but it's lightly storming outside, so it's been overcast for most of the day. Really, really overcast now. I've only heard thunder once, but there's a nice breeze going. A nice break from the heat of the summer. So, what we were reading last hour was from Reddit Scary Stories, and Reddit Scary Stories is a subreddit for original written short horror fiction, just in case you were wondering. And then, before we get any further, let me do the quote for hour 2. And this says, "Everyone who expects everything to be letter perfect never gets very far into the alphabet." Indeed. Very wise words, I must say. Alright, so next we are doing Reddit Ghost Stories, and this subreddit is for those who have had real paranormal experiences. Feel free to share yours. Alright. This Reddit user is rude_association1503. My imaginary friend was not imaginary. One night my dad could hear me speaking loudly, so he came to check on me. I was 6 or 7. He found me at the end of the bed talking to absolutely no one. When he turned the lights on, I got startled and leaped under the covers. He asked who I was talking to, but I didn't want to say. I had been talking to my imaginary friend. He had asked me to please not tell anyone about him because he didn't want to leave. I remember clearly seeing him, a blonde kid with green eyes who told me his name was Y. I tried to be quiet because I didn't want my dad to come back. Weird that it's just a letter Y. With my daughter in Twin Lakes, when we lived in that little A-frame, I saw 2 ghosts, and it was a mother and a baby, and she called them Mommy E and Baby E. And we're like, well, why do you call them that? Because that's the sound they make. E. Creepy AF, I must say. Once I got caught again, I started keeping a diary where I would communicate by writing my questions and answers so nobody could hear me. Y told me some horrible things about his parents and how they were a part of something really bad. He told me that if I looked through the socket in the kitchen above the oven, I would see where they put the ones they helped harm. So I did. My dad walked in on me as I'm literally looking through the socket and saw stained glass. Like what you would see in a church or something. He kept asking me what I was doing. I got really scared and told him what I saw. He looked and saw nothing. He reassured me nothing was in the wall. He later found my diary and it was disturbing. He started asking questions about why and telling me that I didn't have to be afraid of telling the truth, so I told him. Why told me that the bodies are under the house. My dad was genuinely terrified, so he started to research our property. Turn out, our home was built over a church graveyard during the Second World War. I never saw or heard from Y again. This user is ashamed-internet8373. Evil healer caused me to suffer for 6 years. It all started when I went to a shamanic healer lady. She was reading my chakra and muttering some mantras. Also gave me some tea. Ended up passing out, then woke up half naked, sweating, and out of it. Seeing her standing above me, her face shifting between some shadow demonic thing. Then I passed out again. Woke up later and felt out of it, but got changed and paid her and left. After like a week, I'm getting impulsive thoughts like crazy, suicidal, immoral, and getting attacked in my dream by some Hindu goddess called Kali. Also getting force-fed food or dessert in my dream repeatedly. That's when I realized something was defo changed. Anyways, I brush it off slowly. I start to isolate more. My health deteriorates mentally and physically. Relationships with family and friends and the opposite gender goes downhill, and I start developing alter egos. One alter ego I had was very immoral and seductive and sadistic, so it'd come out when I'm a bit drunk or under any drug influence and around women. Another was like a timid child. Then there was the worst, which was a male, dominant, powerful entity which, when in control, would cause me to rage or do horrible things to the people close to me. Things slowly got worse as I became more isolated to the point where I would be having full-blown voices in my head telling me ways that they would unalive me. Then the TV would have some demonic laugh coming from it. Or when I'm in the toilet grooming my beard, my eyes would go all black suddenly and I would feel a heavy presence. Then I developed sleep paralysis and would see 3 shadow forms hovering around me, and another choking me while growling. Then the physical attack started. The worst was at 3 a.m. early morning when I woke up sweating from a bad dream. The room felt more dark than usual, and something in the far right of my room caught my attention. It was an energy orb. I looked at it fascinated. Then it suddenly vanished. I was about to go back to sleep, but I heard a loud scream in my ear and jumped up, frightened. Then, before I could even process what just happened, I was dragged by my feet by some invisible force off my bed and thrown halfway across my room. That's when I knew I was cooked and that what I was facing was fully evil and wanted to finish me. Bear in mind I'm 23 years old, of age, 6'3", 95 kilograms. There's no possible way any human could have done that. Neither was there any rational or logical way for me to explain what had just happened to me. I actually felt fear like never before, so from that moment forth, I started searching what the hell I thought it could be, and what ended up happening was I'd find some good information regarding these entities, and they would give me thoughts of self-doubt, like, no, that's the wrong info, or nothing can save you. It's over for you. The world hates you. But I kept steadfast and kept digging. I researched for a total of 4 years, managed to find some nuggets of truths here and there, but majority of the info was rubbish. I also fell into yoga and kundalini, which just made everything a lot more worse for me. Things would get better for a few weeks, then I would be attacked ×2. I realized that I shouldn't listen to the entities, whether in my dream or through my thoughts. 99 lies were said before. I now find myself in Turkey. Bear in mind my parents are Eastern Orthodox Christian. Me, myself, I wasn't too religious, but I find myself in Turkey for vacation, and I was sightseeing and I heard a song play on a loudspeaker. As soon as I heard the words, I literally felt these entities rush down my spine and hide in fear in the deepest parts of my body. And for the first time in a long time, I had peace of mind for like 4 minutes. Me being shocked and actually able to process my thoughts properly without negative input, I made it my duty to find out what that song was, and I followed the sound, and it took me to a mosque. I went in with the idea of asking the person inside to tell me what that song is called that was playing on the loudspeaker. When I went up to him and inquired, he said it's called the Islamic Call to Prayer. Then I told him that it had a calming effect on me. He then randomly goes, "The demonic spirits run, they can't stand it." I was so happy because now I've finally got a weapon against these entities that I thought were all powerful. So from that moment forth, any time I would sense them attacking or getting negative thoughts, I would put in my earphones and play this Islamic call to prayer at full volume. Now, did it get rid of them? No. But it made them run in fear and hide in the deepest parts of my body, and I would get peace of mind for max 10 minutes. Or, you have to realize in my position, I was happy with just that small amount of progress. First I thought it was the frequency of the song, but then I realized it wasn't because there wasn't any beat or music instruments being used. I started to look into why it was the only thing out of many things that I had previously tried that actually gave me tangible results. And then the kicker came. I went to sleep one night and had a dream where my ancestors, whom I had never met before, hugged me, showed me around where they were, and told me a lot about my family. But just before they left me, they looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Stop listening to the Islamic call to prayer." As soon as he said that, the dream ended, and as I woke up with that last message reverberating in my mind, I sat up shocked and started to logically piece together what happened. Then it dawned on me, wait a second, when I was being tormented and being flung across my room by some invisible force, why didn't my ancestors help me then? Only when I finally found a way to curb the negative thoughts and put fear in the entities, they show up and tell me to stop the only thing that's working for me? I then played the call to prayer one more time, and I knew straight away when I felt calm that I hadn't seen my ancestors, but had seen something that took the form of my ancestors, and from that moment forth, things became even tougher. In my mind, it was the first battle I had won against these entities, and it gave me confidence that they're not all powerful. But I had actually managed to break away just that once, and actually think logically, not emotionally. After that, things took a more physical turn. 3 main things I would like to share. The first being at around 2 a.m., I woke up randomly and saw an energy plasma orb at the top corner of my room. It then started to expand into some kind of portal, and I kid you not, an angel dressed in white, with white skin and golden eyes and golden lashes, tall, slender, and wearing sandals. I was so shocked at what I was seeing that I swear I don't even know if my breathing stopped. I even recall pinching myself to make sure I wasn't seeing things or dreaming. Anyways, this angel just stares at me, and I get a warm feeling of love radiating from it. Then it speaks to me telepathically, which was a red flag I should have picked up on, but I was in the moment. It says it's Archangel Michael, and it has come to help me remove the entities within me. Then it walks towards me and puts a hand on my forehead and says, "You have to worship thee," then vanishes. I was so bamboozled that I did the only thing I knew would help me at least calm my thoughts. I played the call to prayer, and I kid you not, my left arm and left leg started to twitch like I was being electrocuted, and I feel a strange heat and a feeling like I've just run a marathon, and suddenly stopped and my blood's pumping heavily. I should have took that as a sign, but nevertheless, I entered the thought that I might have just made contact with an angel. So I believe the angel and start calling out to it in worship, and I do some research on the specific angel to see what it likes and doesn't. Then everything goes great for the first week, but then I get the now familiar voice of the angel in my head, telling me to do something holy but with a small sadistic twist. E.g., get the Bible, call out to me, and pray to God, but do it butt naked at midnight. Specifically, logically, I sense something's wrong, but I go through with it because the attacks and everything has stopped, so I think I'm on the right path. When I do it, I feel a burst on energy growing inside me. And I swear, while I was reading the verses, I felt myself lose control of my tongue, and something else take over. Its presence dark and heavy. I started saying words that I don't even know the meaning of in some sort of Latin language. After that, I knew that it had all been a facade, and now that I had worshipped this thing, its anchors and influence in me had increased. After that, I refused to listen to the voice of the angel, and I was attacked so badly in the dream world and in the physical to the point where I nearly gave up and offed myself. The only weapon that I still had was the Islamic call to prayer, but now its effect lasting less longer, max 5 minutes. But nevertheless, I kept steadfast, slip up a few times here and there. But I started to fast, which also helped curb my impulsive desires. But here's the final kicker. After my second week of fasting, but they were most definitely still there. While I'm watching a movie late at night, I see an energy plasma orb out of the corner of my eye, which becomes a portal. This time, guess who steps out? It's none other than Jesus himself, wearing a pristine white robe with blonde hair and blue eyes surrounded by a warm light. He steps out and just smiles warmly at me. I'm not gonna lie, I was so out of it and shocked that it took me a while to process what I was seeing. He then ushers me over by outstretching his arms. I stand and move closer, then he communicates to me telepathically. Come closer, child of God. I walked even closer till we're face to face. Bear in mind, I believe I'm talking to Jesus, the Son of God, in that moment. Then he says, bow down and submit to me. And as soon as I heard those words, a voice in the back of my mind said, hold on, wasn't Jesus a Middle Eastern man? This Jesus in front of me had blue eyes and blonde hair. I remember, I said vocally. You're not Jesus. The moment those words left my mouth, it was like a veil was lifted. The Jesus I had just been speaking to smiled, the most sadistic, evil smile you could think of, and said, that's right. Then laughed so loudly that I had to cover my ears, since I was hearing it in my mind and ears. Then when I looked up, he was gone. That was the second time I would say I won a battle against these entities. After that, I knew that these entities, depending on how powerful they are, can shapeshift into anything that has or can be drawn or sculpted, dead or alive. And with that new knowledge, it was impossible for them to try to trick me again. With ancestors, or angels, or Jesus, or aliens, Hindu gods, Kalima, so they switched their game plan. They would attack in dream world and in the physical, by using crackheads or other people who might be suffering from entity possession. An example that happened to me was, I was walking home from the gym when a crackhead who was ahead of me suddenly turned around and started to scream my first name and surname. Never seen him before, so I'm shocked. I walk a bit closer and he whispers to me, something only I would know, then starts twitching and yelling and phasing in and out of seriousness and goofiness. Me, still under the weak influence of the entities, gets a sudden impulsive thought. Kill him. He knows too much. I literally see my hand reach for a rock nearby, but I managed to break out of the trance, like feeling I was in. I play the Islamic call to prayer on some speed dial shit, and as soon as I do, this crackhead looks up at me and does the most demonic smile and runs off laughing. That's when I realized they can also utilize other humans to attack or discourage you, and those attacks become more common after that first encounter. usually from people who were suffering mental health issues or spiritual people or people who themselves have either entities within them. My guess now is that what happened was the entities within me exchanged info about me with the entities within the crackhead, and since those entities have a strong grip on their host, they can possess and talk through him at will. That's the only rational way I can explain how that crackhead, who I had never met in my life, could have known a secret about me that no other human alive or dead knew. It's that, or it's the entities who had been with me had witnessed when I did that secret thing and then entered the crackhead since his natural defense was low and spoke through him to push me off the edge and make me commit a crime that I couldn't come back from, making me further ruin my life and fall into their hands easier. Anyways, this sort of gang-stalking hive mind set thing happened more than once to me. But I was aware of what was going on and managed to always stay on top of things by using one rule and think logically, not emotionally. I'll skip a bit forward. What ended happening was I would have regular dreams of me committing very sexual, immoral acts. I knew it was these entities shape-shifting into what they knew I would be attracted to. Nevertheless, I had no way of stopping it from happening, so I decided to look further into Islam and their beliefs about these beings. Come to find out, they have a plethora of information regarding these beings, their nature, their tricks, and how to get rid of them. Not only that their Quran, which they believe is the verbatim words of God, has a variety of verses and chapters specifically just to torment and burn these entities. As soon as I learned this, I went and just grabbed my headphones and went straight to YouTube. I found an hour-long video of verses in the Quran called Ruqya, with English translation so I could read along with the Arabic. And as soon as I touched play with full volume, I could feel energy in my body become restless. Moving around, I got thoughts in my head telling me, they're a bunch of terrorists, don't listen. And various crazy self-doubt thoughts, but I had nothing to lose, so I kept listening. Tell me why after like 30 minutes I'm suddenly breathing heavy, like really heavy, like I'm gasping for oxygen. Not only that, my left side is spazzing out uncontrollably. I end up falling asleep around the 40 minutes mark and I black out. I wake up to my girlfriend at the time shouting at me, "What happened to you?" Exclaiming it in a worried tone. I replied, "Get off, man, I just fell asleep for a bit." She goes, "No, you were growling, shaking, and screaming low." I laughed at her and asked her if she was being serious. She said yes. I brushed her off, but she insisted with teary eyes. She said she had never seen anything like that in her life, and that she didn't recognize me in that moment, and that no matter how much she tried to get me back to normal, she couldn't. Now I'm thinking, holy crap, what the hell just happened? So I play the whole situation back in my head and logically pick apart everything. Then it dawns on me, how on earth is it possible for someone to sleep while blasting something at full volume in their ears with headphones? I had a eureka moment, right then. And from that day on, every day I would wake up, play 1 hour of the Ruqya video, English translation in the morning and night. I noticed after the 2 days, my health problems had dramatically improved. The negative thoughts, however, were still there, but they had weakened. After the 3rd day, I decided to do the most important, vital thing that helped me understand my situation. I set up a camera and would record just before I started listening to the Ruqya, and what I saw when I reviewed the footage shocked me. My head would move on its own from side to side. My breathing was so heavy, like it was a burning room without any oxygen. I would twitch like a crackhead at some points in time, and the most frightening thing of all was when I stared dead center into the camera. I had sat up and screamed like a banshee for over a minute without taking a breath in between. I had no memory of this at all when I would wake up or while listening to the Ruqya. I realized that whatever that was, it definitely wasn't me, and that what I was doing was working. I was feeling the effects of it. It was as clear as day and night, and so I kept on it, and on the 7th day, the first one left. The timid entity I had mentioned in the beginning. I watched the video footage and saw it scream and cry out in pain, and it said, "I don't care if I'm killed, I can't stand it any longer." Then my left arm shot up and started spazzing, then it dropped down suddenly. I woke up feeling like I had just ran a marathon, tired, but I had this inner feeling that I had just accomplished something big and that something was different. The most difficult and stubborn one was the last, the dominant male entity. He put up a fight, controlled my hands to make the devil signs, spat cursed language, laughed all while he was in excruciating pain. Nevertheless, I kept at it, and after a month I was finally rid of them all. And since then, whenever I even get an inkling that my defenses have weakened, I just play the Rukia video on YouTube. Also, I've made major lifestyle changes. No drugs, no demonic music with lyrics that could be spells or could influence my thoughts. And finally, I added fasting to control impulsive desires. And that there's my story and experience over a 6-year journey summarized. Oh, I forgot to add, recording myself while listening to the Rukia was a game changer. Without it, I wouldn't have known that the entities were reacting so badly to it, since they have a way of making the host unaware to them suffering. Please feel free to ask any questions, and I'll answer to my best abilities and knowledge. So in case you wanted to ask him any questions, the user is ashamed-internet 8373 under Reddit Ghost Stories. This one is by Kenosha-Cornfed. I don't like the dark. This experience happened last night when I had to go check on our rental property about an hour away. My wife got a notification at about 10 p.m. that there was movement detected from the cameras we set up on the rental property to keep an eye on the place until we can get it rented. My wife asked if I could go over there to make sure everything was okay and locked up. I told her to text me if any more notifications came through. I pull up around 11:30 and can see there's a light coming from the basement. Already on edge, I walk around the outside and check windows and doors. All are shut and locked. My wife called me and asked if I have gone inside yet because she got another movement detected in one of the bedrooms. I told her I was just unlocking the door to go check inside, but really didn't want to. Maybe the camera detected me outside the window. I just said this to make myself feel better. I open the door and yell out, "Anyone in here?" I already called the police and they will be here very shortly. I listen for anyone moving around, but I hear nothing. I check all the rooms and find nothing, so I head down to the basement to at least turn off the light. I walk into the basement and see the cord of the light swinging, but only that light. There's no air movement. I do a really quick search to check for anyone hiding before I turn the light on my phone and pull the cord. The moment it turns off, I hear a loud bang upstairs. I run up the stairs to get out of the basement quickly. The basement stairs are right next to the front door. I go out the door and start shutting it. I hear a voice come from the basement. "I don't like the dark. Please stay." I hop back in my vehicle and turned it on. As I pull down the driveway, I see the basement turn back on. I called my wife and I tell her I'm on my way home. She said she got another movement detected message right as I called her. That is creepy. I wonder if it was a little kid's voice that he heard. Ooh. Yeah, that is creepy AF. I would have left really fast too. No doubt. Ooh, they've even got a glitch in the Matrix section. Oh. Alright. This one is by Mommy Bear 670. Ghost stuck in a house. Weird thing, I was at a doctor's appointment and the nurse noticed my address. She said, "Do you live there?" I said, "Yes." She said she used to live there and she had to move because it was so haunted. The ghost made himself so known that it scared her 3 kids. We shared stories of things that happened in that house. Do you think ghosts are stuck at our house? Why? I don't think he was mean, but he'd play tricks on us or mimic. Like I'd wake up to hearing a screaming from so close to my face that I could feel the wind or breath. I'd hear my daughter yelling, "Mom!" when I was home alone. We'd lose things, but knowing where we left it, it just wasn't there anymore. Then would show up in plain sight. My son lost our one earbud. For months, we searched the house so many times that one day, I just looked down and it's sitting right in plain sight in the doorway. I've swept and mopped and walked past that doorway 100 times a day, yet there it was in plain sight. That happened a few times. Anyways, I guess my question is, what are ghosts? If we die and go to heaven or hell, how can ghosts be real? Why didn't they go to heaven or hell? Why are they stuck in one house or spot? I'm curious what others believe. This one is by user mysterious-box 5355. My 3 ghost experiences. One of them happened recently, 4 to 5 days ago. The other one happened in 2024. And the last one happened like 2 days ago. Some context for the 2024 one, it was night and I was in my room watching YouTube. And everybody was sleeping around 12 a.m. or 1 a.m. Then my stuff like PS4, TV, desk, dresser starts going off with a click noise. Another thing to add to this, yes, I had ghost experiences before in my house and outside. Now, for the one that happened 4 to 5 days ago, so when Annabelle got lost in the fire, I searched it up because I thought it was fake. I looked into images and looked dead into her eyes. Then I sensed a very, very dark presence in my room. After I sensed the presence in my room, I got the chills. Whenever I get the chills, not chicken skin, I know there's a ghost nearby. I was right because when I was walking to school, I heard footsteps behind me. I looked behind me and not surprising, nobody was behind me. I instantly knew it was some ghost or entity following me. It even happened in school when I was in the library doing speech therapy. The chills, then me sensing a presence sitting down next to me. Of course, there's always a thing I must add. After all of this, my behavior started changing. I would get mad so easily, which caused me relationship problems. After I knew something was up with me, looked into her eyes, so I simply just calmed down and did that to help me somewhat, and it did. Last one happened to me 2 days ago. Me personally, I don't consider this sleep paralysis since I know I could move. I just didn't because I sensed a ghost or an entity watching me, just staring at me. When I was dreaming also about a ghost or an entity. I do have some stories, but my stomach hurts and I am too lazy. Okay. We won't make you. I hope your tummy feels better. This one is by user gloomy_length_6845. A voice called her name and it led to a traumatizing encounter. I've shared many of mine and my family's experiences here, but this one is the one that gets me the most. Once again, this is one of my mother's stories that took place when she was an early preteen in her house, where all of these incidents occurred. My mom and grandma were in the living room, lounging and watching TV. My mom was sitting on one of the couches against one of the walls of the living room, which had a hallway branching off of it. My aunt was in one of the bedrooms at the end of the hall taking a nap. As my mom watched the TV, she got distracted by a voice calling out to her. It was a loud sort of whisper that was calling her name. My mom was freaked out and didn't know what to do at first. She looked at my grandma and asked, "Did you hear that?" My grandma said she didn't hear anything and practically ignored my mom's question. My mom ignored it after that too, telling herself that she must have just been hearing things that weren't really there, until she heard it again. A long, loud whisper that enunciated each syllable of her name coming from nowhere. She said it sounded like it was a desperate call for help. She looked again over to my grandma, more panicked this time, and asked her again if she had heard anything. My grandma had the same response and told her no. My mom stared down the hallway that branched off the living room and felt some sort of urge to go towards it. She found herself walking down the hallway directly to the room where my aunt was taking a nap. My mom slowly opened the door and saw a big, dark black shadow figure stood in the doorway, only a few foot or two away from her, but not for long. The shadow flew off and disappeared. My mom then looked over to my aunt sleeping in the bed to see if she was seeing any of this. What she truly saw disturbs me. Similar to the shadows that was standing in front of her was a figure that was on top of my aunt. My mom said there was a blackness all around her bed. My aunt just laid in the bed completely frozen but with eyes open. Only a few seconds passed until the black figure flew off of my aunt and disappeared. My aunt shot out of bed, screaming and crying, saying she couldn't move. My mom thinks somehow maybe she could hear her sister calling out to her while she was being attacked by whatever this entity was, but only to her. This one is by user Amish34. Creepy dollhouse story, which I still think to this day. This happened when I was about 10 years old with my best friend. Let's call him S. We were just riding our bikes around the neighborhood like any normal day when S told me to come check out his house on my street that he called the Creepy Dollhouse. He said no one lived there. The reason it had that name was because on the second floor, on the side of the house, there was a window, and in it you could see two creepy dolls looking down from the window. We were scared as hell, but also joking around about it. We even played ding-dong ditch at the house a few times and messed around. About a week later, we came back to that same house, but this time there was a creepy clown mask placed in the front window, right next to the door. It hadn't been there before. We were freaked out and ran straight home. Eventually, we got curious and decided to investigate. We asked one of the neighbors about the house, and she told us it had been bought by the bank. No one lived there. So how the hell did that clown mask end up in the window? It still creeps me out when I think about it. Now the house has been bought and a family lives there, but I'll always remember that weird feeling. Reddit, what do you think? P.S. I tried to post this on RBI and I got flamed for my grammar, so I made ChatGPT clean it up. But this is 100% true. Dang old bullies. My uncle's paranormal experience in the army. And this is by Angel, with the E being a 3. Feather, Angel Feather. My uncle was in the army for about 15 years in Afghanistan, and he saw many things that were frightening or unnatural, but this one was unexplainable. My family, my mom's side in specific, has a very in-tune connection with the spiritual for whatever reason, and so this story wasn't shocking but confusing, considering I'm unsure what it was he saw. He was in this hospital and it was very busy and full of injured soldiers and people. He was working very late that night, and by the time he was leaving, everyone was gone. It was completely empty except for a few people. He had to visit an area of the hospital before he left, an office in the hospital's downstairs. That's where nobody was completely. It was just him. He watched as a peer flew off the desk unnaturally. He was tired and confused, so he turned around to pick them up. But that's when he was greeted by a single eye, a single floating human eyeball. He said it stared at him, never breaking eye contact. It was his height, too. There was no figure outline. It was just one single eyeball. Does any know what this could have been? I have no clue, but I'll keep my eye out. Yeah, that's weird. I've never heard a story like that before. Very odd indeed. This one is by user Bex BEXX201489. Is it true that children see, feel, and sense spirits more than adults? So about 5 or 6 months ago, I woke up to my 2-year-old son terrified, screaming, and pointing. He was asleep in the bedroom at the end of the hallway, pointing up towards the rest of the house. I have never heard him scream like that before. He was horrified. He hasn't done it since, but he's always been a bit funny after that happened, walking down the hallway by himself. Now, the past week, he has been really funny about walking down the hallway at all, and I have to encourage him to go, or go with him. He has also started closing the sliding door at the end of the hallway, which then blocks off where the bedrooms are, if that makes sense. I don't want my son feeling this way in his own home and being scared to walk down the hallway. It's horrible seeing him not want to walk down the hallway or the way he freaks out when he does. I just want him to be comfortable. Could he be possibly going through a phase, or is it something more? I also have a 4-year-old, and he's never been like that at all. Help me, help my boy, be comfortable and not freaked out. That's very sad. It really sucks when it affects your children, you know? But yes, I truly believe that he is seeing something, and even if your other kid isn't, doesn't mean it's not true. Some people have different gifts, and yeah. All my kids were and are spooks. Even my grandson is a spook, so. Yes, I know. I don't look old enough to be a grandmother. Alright. This one is by user sensitive_artist1327. Someone else saw my ghost. When I was little, around 4 or 6, I hated to sleep in my own room. I lived with my mom and dad and little brother in an older house on 9 acres of land, mostly forested. One night, my parents tell me they put me to bed and came out soon after to ask them, "Who's the lady in the red dress?" Obviously, they freaked out, but there was no one in my room. I remember having strange dreams in that house, like I was floating and bouncing through the air, following a little pale green orb around. I remember seeing a woman in evening wear standing in the doorway of the living room. We moved out of the house to a different part of town when I was a bit older. I never had issues sleeping in my own bed after the move. Later, some friends of my parents moved into our old house. The mother tells my parents that her daughter had seen a ghost, a lady in a red dress. My parents never said a single word to them about what I had seen, but her daughter described my same ghost. It feels too insanely similar to be a coincidence. Years later, we moved to a city an hour away. We brought with us a dollhouse that had been mine since the first house. My siblings and I downloaded a silly ghost hunting app, one where an ad pops up every 2 seconds. We pointed it at the dollhouse and it reads, "Red dress." Huh? Deleted the app after that, haha. Still freaks me out 15 plus years later. Well, on that note, boys and girls, we're going to go to our second music break. On this break, we have Miss Michaela Hagen from Ontario, Canada with Mirror, Gravity. Oh no, it looks like there's a song missing. Oops. And then we have Fred Johnson III with After Dark. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this music break.
showed you how to keep a shoulder cold. No, no one walked away without a scar, scar, scar. I've been digging through the pieces. Your heart is under reach, but objects may seem nearer through this rippled mirror. I've been digging through the pieces. Your heart is under reach, but objects may seem nearer through this rippled mirror. Talking on pins and needles, every word through a microscope. You keep stomping down on the ground while I've been stuck on this tightrope. I just wanna say what I wanna say without your sentence. I'm not willing to do the time when I'm innocent, and I'm innocent. Talking on pins and needles. Talking on pins and needles. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. Walked on my share of thin ice with your blowtorch at my feet. You won't ever see me beg, so take this tongue off your leash. I'm gonna say what I wanna say, don't need permission. Interpret it how you want, it's my decision. Talking on pins and needles. Talking on pins and needles. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. Dancing on shattered glass, kicking the pieces all around. My safety has been broken, this is now a hunting ground. Talking on pins and needles. Talking on pins and needles. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. perfect date, yeah. Living at the dark, I search lonely streets to find hidden shadows in the dark. It doesn't matter what I say. Secret homicides arranged in a series of pursuits. No matter what I say, after dark, I gave her face because she had the range. I knew she was the one that never could go home again. Plastic lights like limo seats. I don't know why I can't control this urge to hurt again. Yeah, living at the dark, I search lonely streets to find hidden shadows in the dark. It doesn't matter what I say. Changes in the sky, murder forever after. No matter what I say, after dark. Feeling ran to the feel. Hiding place with days of December. Concerning works or meshed in appendage. It doesn't matter what I say. It really doesn't. No matter what I say, after dark. It doesn't matter what I say. Secret homicides arranged in a series of pursuits. No matter what I say, change in the sky, murder forever after. It doesn't matter what I say. Rude and fatal, lacking the hint of conscience. No matter what I say, after dark.
Welcome back, Wapham crew, guys, gals, and ghouls. Thanks so much for hanging out with me tonight on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. We have been hitting Reddit today, and we're doing different sections of Reddit. The first one was scary stories. The second one was ghost stories. And this third one will be paranormal. And paranormal is a space dedicated to true, first-hand paranormal experiences. But before we get into that, let's get to our third quote of the show. You can get much done by starting tomorrow. Again, you can't get much done by starting tomorrow. But I mean, some of my favorite things are things that I'm doing tomorrow. Alright. Man, I wish you guys could see this picture. It's by WHO3434. What is in the chair? And it looks like, oh my gosh. Looks like somebody laid back in the chair. It's so weird. But I guess nobody's sitting there, but it looks like somebody sitting there with their knees up in the chair. It's like, what the crap? I'm gonna take a screen. That was. This phone's home button is all jacked up. There we go. Alright. And I'll post that on We Are Paradox Media on Facebook. And, yeah. I was going to say I'll also do it on X, but I'm not sure if I have a Weird Paradox Media on X. It's mostly just Facebook and YouTube. And other places, but I don't think we're on Pinterest either. Alright, let's get to our first encounter. This one is by user Paste LNIC Zach Pastel Nick Zach. Saw something humanoid in the middle of our town. Not a joke. Hi, I'm writing this because I honestly don't know how to make sense of what we saw, and I'm hoping someone out there might have had a similar experience. This night around midnight, me and my girlfriend were sitting in the center of our small town. 17,000 people in Poland, nothing weird ever happens here. We were on a sidewalk between some old apartment blocks just talking and laughing. Nothing creepy, no fear, no drugs, we were just having a good night. Then out of nowhere, both of us noticed just in the corner of our eyes something hanging from a tree, like a figure. It disappeared the second we tried to focus on it, so at first we both thought maybe it was just a trick of light or our minds. We kept walking and talking for maybe a minute. Suddenly, my girlfriend stopped and stared into one direction. After a second, she turned and bolted in the opposite direction without saying a word. I ran after her, not understanding what was going on, looked at something for a few seconds, and we ran to my home. Later, when we were safe at my place, she told me she saw something running across the street. It wasn't human. She said it was completely hairless, pale, humanoid, but not quite right. Its head was a bit pointy and larger than normal. The arms were longer than the legs, the fingers were super long, and the ribs were clearly visible. It had no clothes and no genitals. The feet looked almost like hands. It moved in a way that wasn't right, fast, twisted, crawling and climbing across the tree. Not like anything a person could do. While I was running after her, I also saw something jump down from the tree and move across the street again, just out of my direct vision, not enough to see clearly, but definitely there. It wasn't a shadow or illusion. I felt it. I know something was there. We also both heard this strange ambient sound in the background. It wasn't loud, but it was constant, like a high-pitched electronic tone mixed with static or mechanical hum. It was there during the whole experience. There were no lights, no animals, no people, no wind loud enough to explain this. No fear beforehand, nothing that could have influenced our minds. It just happened, and it felt real, too real. I've looked online, and the only thing that even slightly fits is people describing crawlers or some kind of distorted humanoid beings, but I never expected something like that here in the middle of a small town, between blocks, not in a forest. If anyone has seen something like this or knows where to report this seriously, besides UFO YouTubers or conspiracy sites, I really appreciate in advance. We're not crazy, we just want to understand what we saw. She just said that some time ago she has seen this head when she had sleep paralysis. Oh no. But what it sounds like to me is a rape. No, that's what the description sounds like to me. First thing that came to mind. This is by user KMeDude, so QUEME Dude, DUDE. I left my body. When I was 16, I decided to read a book, Starting Your Own Business. After all the technical crap, the last chapter was about how to meditate to have and open up creative thinking. I followed the instructions and sat in a chair in the middle of the room, did the breathing required, and the next thing I knew, I was leaving my body. Straight up. I saw myself in the chair, then through the roof, and headed straight up above the house, going higher. It scared the crap out of me, and I gasped, which for some reason put me back in the chair. I was a kid, so I didn't know what happened until later in life when a coworker talked about a similar experience they had and explained to me about OBEs and astral projection. I have tried many times but could never do it again. I actually accidentally fell out of my body once, and it really scared the crap out of me. I fell on the floor and I looked back, and there I was sitting on the couch. I thought I died. I was so scared. But I was able to manipulate my spirit body. I was trying to crawl as a normal person does, but when you're in the astral realm, your body doesn't work the same. So yeah, I looked like a drunk baby trying to crawl, but I did make it back to my body, and as soon as I got back into it, I woke up. And I was totally freaked out, but it can happen. There's another picture. This picture has been keeping me up at night. Looks like an old cowboy or something leaning on the fence. A ghosty. Copy image. Hopefully that image will stay. I'll do a snapshot of it too. And then I'll share it to our Facebook page with the other one. Another one. That's pretty cool. When I first saw it, like from a distance, I thought it was Bigfoot, but it looks like a cowboy from back in the day. And it's cool because it's right by, like, it could be a really old barn, or it could be a really old house barn thing where they're all connected. Pretty interesting. This one is by user Rollin' with McKitties. Bizarre experience in the woods. Early this morning, 1:45 a.m. We live out in the middle of nowhere in Tennessee, surrounded by woods, hills, and not a neighbor to be seen for miles. Last night we lost all water pressure in our home, so we reported it to the water company and went outside to take the entrance of our property to trace the water line to see if we had a leak or a burst pipe. As we stepped outside, we heard loud wood knocks, which we hear occasionally and often jokingly attributed to a squatch, with the understanding it could be anything. As we get to the car, we heard bizarre radio signal sounds coming from the hills, like an AM radio, changing stations, a mixture of music, talking, and noise. It stopped briefly and then started up again. My wife said, "Hello?" and it stopped again. We stood there spooked and thought we may have an unlikely trespasser, so went back inside and grabbed my pistol. We still needed to inspect the water line. We would drive to the front of the property looking for leaks and stop the car to listen for any running water or activity. The coyotes started going nuts, but this is typical. Other than that, silence. We cranked the car, turned around, and my car immediately dies as I'm driving. Prosaic explanations that came to mind were radio signals bouncing off the ionosphere and interacting with the foliage, or maybe something to do with solar activity. Either way, it was fun and something that I thought would be fun to share on here. Yeah, it's pretty cool when stuff like that happens. Back in the day when, I think it was like 96, 97. But I was in Arkansas, and I remember hearing radio, like, songs in my head. And then it really tripped me out when I got into my car to go somewhere, and it would be the same song playing in the same exact place. So I was wondering, like, could it have to do with the fillings in my teeth? Because I had a couple fillings going on. I was deep in my feelers. But yeah, that used to trip me out. It's a radio in your mouth. This one is by Murder Drone 888. I can see ghosts. NSFW/trigger warning. I don't know what NSFW means. Since I was 5, I've been able to see ghosts. Photos, they're there. Streets, hundreds. Graves, parties of them. When people ask, they most likely don't believe me or just say something like, sure, whatever you say, but they're real. It's not schizophrenia like some people think, because one time, my dead grandpa brought me cookies in bed. I ate them. The crumbs were still there in the morning. I can sometimes physically interact with them, sometimes not. I see them and nobody has believed me all my life. Obviously, I'm alone with everyone else I know, but has anyone else seen ghosts? Oh, yeah, sister. Lots of ghosts and other things. Ooh. What the heck just happened? Yeah, I went to FSW graphic content. What is happening? Why did it do that? Hello? This is so weird. I guess I'll just go with what's on this page. Was this his last goodbye? This is by Bakang M. So, my brother was supposed to go to the clinic this morning. When I woke up, I prepared myself and went to the kitchen right after. Guys, I swear to God that my bro told me he's leaving, and I said, okay, and I saw him leave the yard. When I went to grab something from my bedroom, my girlfriend had briefly went outside and was back in bed, and she told me my bro was still in the house in his bedroom because you can see him when you pass by his bedroom, and his bedroom is on the right side of the hallway when you are walking northward. I obviously tried to explain to my girlfriend that my bro had left the house about 10 minutes ago, but she was still adamant. As confused as I was, I left the bedroom getting ready to work on some stuff around the house. I saw my bro wearing the same clothes I saw him on earlier walking towards me, and I said jokingly, "Didn't you say you were leaving about 10 minutes ago?" Then he simply stared at me and walked past without saying anything. This was obviously odd, as I know he's never acted this way before, and I'm 24, he's 21. And I followed him to his bedroom, trying to get him to speak to me and make sense of everything, and when I got there, he wasn't there at all. It took me less than 3 seconds to also get to his bedroom right after him, but he wasn't there. My bro isn't really a prankster or anything, so I was starting to get angry and scared as to what the hell was going on exactly. So I let my girl know what had happened, and she obviously freaked out and was also confused. Okay, so after some time I go outside to work. I said earlier that I had to do some work around the house. Then my girl asked me, why don't I phone my bro to see if he really went to the clinic, and I did. The phone was picked up, but I couldn't exactly make out what he said because it sounded static, so I hung up and tried to call again, but the call didn't go through this time. After about 30 minutes, my mom phoned me crying the most painful cry I ever heard, that my bro has just been run over by a car and died on the spot. I really don't know what to make of this. Wow. That's very amazing and fascinating and touching. I'm trying to see what he said. He said he was leaving, so I guess he was saying goodbye. But then I guess sometimes I think when you die, you don't realize you died. Like, I can imagine being hit by a car and it being so fast that you don't even realize what happened. So maybe he went back home, and like I said, your astral body, your spirit body is a lot different than your physical body, so you can't always speak. That's why a lot of them communicate telepathically. Well, that's pretty sweet. I mean, I'm sorry for what happened, but it's sweet that he went back and saw his blood. Aww. Yeah. Alright, this one is by... Hold on. Okay, move on then. Anal Bead 96. I am a medium, and this is the worst thing I've ever experienced. Now, I've seen a lot of things, and this has shaken me to my core. Through the ages of 16 and 17, I was living with my Nana and Papa. Soon after I moved in, my cousin moved in with us. It was fall, and we were outside smoking, distressing from the day and getting ready for bed. To the left of us, about 100 feet away, was a small ravine/stream that was at the bottom of a steep 8-foot slope. We were in the middle of our session when we heard footsteps coming through the water, up on the leaves and up to the side of the stream, but nothing was visible. I couldn't tell if it was good or bad, but we didn't stick around to find out because we booked it inside. After we were inside, we went upstairs. We lived in the basement. To get food, my cousin, we'll call her Sally, asked me to turn on the light in the living room so we could eat in there. As soon as I passed the wall that separated the kitchen and living room, out of the corner of my eye, I see a woman sitting in a frog pose staring at me. Yeah, I would have soiled my pants right then and there. She had a ruffled up 80s hairdo, she had a white hospital patient outfit on, and she looked panicked. I ran back into the kitchen and told Sally what happened, and we walked into the living room to turn on the light, and the lady was gone. Later, as we're eating, I have a clear view through the kitchen into the back family room, and I see a white apparition of a male figure walking from a wall that not only leads outside, but is also the second story. Their house is built on a slope. This figure walks across the room to the wall that leads out to the balcony, the place right above where we were smoking an hour prior. Fast forward 5 months later, I had just moved back in with my mom, and just 1 week later, I looked out my door at 3 in the morning to go to the bathroom, and there she was. The same woman from Nana and Papa's living room on my mom's living room floor. Same spot on her stomach, her limbs bent and contorted in ways they shouldn't be able to, and her head twisted backwards, her jaw broken and open wider than it should have been, and no eyes. Her eyes were gone. It's something I can't unsee, but something I can't fully describe. Creepy. Yeah, I would not like that at all. Okay, the next thing is a drawing of what him and his friends saw. Pretty creepy. And the user is deleted, so maybe he got a lot of flack for his picture or something, which I hate when that happens. So this one is by Sankrito. Sankrito. My friend sadly passed away last year. Apart from his wedding just 2 months. A week before he passed, he told his fiancée that he was the only child of his parent, and he was afraid that if something happened to him, no one will take care of them. Sadly, he passed away too early and left many sadness for us. Is that normal, like people self-predict their own death? I heard very similar stories from many people. My mom planned her own funeral about, I'd say, 3 months before she was killed by a drunk driver. But yeah, she had many paranormal experiences prior to that. I mean, she used to go to the cemetery and smoke a bone with the dead people and just hang out and communicate. Wow, some of the drawings on here are freaking epic. Does anyone know anything about this painting? Yeah, it looks scary. Whoa. I'm gonna take a snapshot of this one too. Holy shnikes. Yeah. This one's by Mako 007. I was trying to sleep in my dorm, but couldn't. Then I felt movement from under me so distinct I thought it was my pet snake. I put my flash on and saw she was in her tank. I laid back down and closed my eyes, still fully awake but uneasy. Mind you, because I've been asked about this, I was completely sober. No weed, no alcohol or anything. Then, my door, that was completely shut, opened on its own. I have 3 roommates, but one was at her boyfriend's and I heard the other 2 talking faintly and far away in the living room. After a few seconds, some kind of force smacked me in the left eye, and I see a flash of white. I get up, arm in the air, ready to start swinging, and the door instantly closes. Doesn't slam, but definitely closes. I turn on the flash and nobody's in the room. I get up immediately and open the door and hear my roommates again from the back of the apartment in the living room, maybe 15 steps away. I didn't hear running, walking, breaking, nothing. I asked them if someone came in my room and smacked me, and they both said no. I explained what happened, and they both said they heard the door open and close, but neither went in my room. I believe they didn't touch me because, 1, I didn't see or hear anyone in, and admittedly, my room was messy, so in the dark, I would have heard them step on a thing or 2 before getting to the bed. And 2, it's incredibly out of character of them. We're friends, but roommates nonetheless, and won't go into each other's rooms if the door's closed. And we especially don't hit or smack each other, nor was I or anyone in a fight or a bad place with each other. I'm freaked out, I won't lie. Does anyone have a rational explanation for this? I haven't been hit by a ghost. I've been caressed and touched, and I've had things thrown my direction. Like a knife flew from the kitchen once. And one of my roommates said a spoon flew at them. I think there was an angry lady in the kitchen for a while, but yeah, I've never been full-on smacked. Well, it's not letting me upvote. But why? Huh. Well, I guess I'm not allowed to upvote anymore. This one is by user Kamiyapia. My brother died yesterday, and I felt his presence in a very convincing way. I felt something strange when my brother died yesterday that I can't explain. My brother was 36 years old and had Down syndrome. We were very close. I took care of him his first 20 years like he was my own child. He was a truly loving and empathic person. After I spent 8 days and nights at the hospital hoping and praying, not to any good, I was telling him about how much I loved him, about memories, scratching his arm, and played with his hair. But his body couldn't handle his sickness. He was fat and had lots of other problems after he had pneumonia that he almost died of on January 2nd. He almost had a heart attack by then, but survived, but went in narcosis. He woke up again, but couldn't walk since then. He went to the emergency hospitals 2 times after that. I was asking for a sign the whole week, and our family, with mother, father, and us 5 siblings, was there day and night. We had some good times together with him and the family. He had oxygen mask a lot the last weeks, but this Monday he said that he was seeing spiders and snakes all over the hospital. No sign of lacking of oxygen before. He had so much pain, also asking why he was scared. After 1.5 days with morphine and his body collapsing, the doctor and family decided to take off the mask. It was some hard hours after. Everyone in the family was there in the room and outside. I sat and held his hand. I started to get really tired and sleepy. Then I felt like red fire in my wings from the hand that I was holding him to my heart. I felt like it was electricity. It stung. I guess it was like 5 times. Afterward, I felt someone playing with my hair, like the wind spirit in the movie Frozen. It was so surreal and so lovely. It really felt like he petted my hair, and then he was dead in that moment. It was like a sign and felt really comforting and playful just as he was. No other in the room had experienced anything. They just think I'm nuts. Maybe I am. I have been hearing his voice afterwards saying, "Vad fan?" It's in Swedish, from a movie they were used to watching. I'm so glad that I experienced this, but I would like to hear other stories and telling me that I'm right and not crazy. That was a good story. Let me upvote that one, but not the others. This is by Snowtrooper_. What are some disturbing urban legends or local myths that still creep you out? Well, awesome_possum22 says, there is a road in Yorktown, Virginia called Crawford Road. It is a super narrow country road in a wooded area with an old overpass bridge. The bridge is covered in graffiti and paint. There are 2 separate stories I grew up hearing about the bridge area. The first states that a heartbroken bride, after finding that her fiancé was cheating on her, hung herself from the bridge. The legend is that your car will stall under the bridge and the ghost of the bride will appear swinging from her handmade gallows from the bridge in front of you. The second story is the one more people I knew believed. The legend has it that there was a lot of satanic activity in the woods around the bridge, and that a satanic cult had abducted and sacrificed some children in the woods surrounding the bridge. Supposedly, animal sacrifice remnants and odd satanic altars were found in the area. This is somewhat believable, as it was in the height of satanic panic that this whole story was most popular. Local kids playing tricks or trying their hand at their own ghost-raising rituals probably did leave satanic-looking altars in the area. A self-fulfilling prophecy, I suppose, laugh out loud. Personally, I had one experience on that road. In the late 90s, there was a severe ice storm right around Christmas in the area. I was trying to visit my parents the morning after the ice storm hit, as they didn't have heat or their house and needed kerosene and supplies and didn't drive and lived pretty far down in a rural area across the river. I was taking Crawford Road to the main one, and there were trees down everywhere. The road was getting harder and harder to drive down. I was zigzagging through downed pine trees. When I got to the point of the bridge, it got so bad that I was literally stuck. I couldn't pull forward or backwards. I had treed myself in. After about a 75-point turn attempt, my car shut off. I'm stuck right in front of the bridge, my breath cold and cloudy in my face, and my stupid car would not turn over. Nothing. The noises come from the woods was terrifying and loud. Piercing cracks and breaking branches, the sound of entire trees breaking in two under the weight of layers of ice. I had scared myself silly, convinced some beast with horns and a human torso was about to break through the trees and kill me. As suddenly as my car died, it came back to life, and I resumed my 177-point turn in order to turn the car around and zigzag my way back through, where I came to find an alternate route to the main road. My car was an old Nissan/Datsun, the year it said, both models on the car, and likely died because it was a giant pile of crap and not due to some witches or warlocks spell to bind me to the spot to kill me. I finally made it to Crawford Road about an hour and a half later, and I did find an alternate route to the main road. That drive usually took me an hour. That day it took me over 4.5 hours to make my way to my parents. The majority of that time was scaring myself silly on Crawford Road, so young and dumb. Well, at least you got to deliver that stuff to your grandparents. This one is by Christine _Fee_13. I went into the bathroom a few minutes ago and out of nowhere, and it seemed as though I had a bunch of iron in my mouth and went to spit in the sink and I had a mouthful of blood and then nothing else. WTF. For context, we live in an old home which is a block away from one of the oldest cemeteries in town. I've had a few weird experiences in this home, but this one tops all of them. This one is by North_Prize_170. Departed sibling communicates after death. My older sister passed away in March 2016, untimely at around 10 a.m. She made it to the hospital but was brain dead and basically on life support. My little sister and my father made it downtown to the hospital just in time to say goodbye before she was taken off life support. I was still asleep a few miles away. She was taken to a surgical suite briefly to have her corneas removed. She was a donor. Then she was taken downstairs out of the hospital and to the morgue in a different building where she would be prepared for cremation services. There was no autopsy. The COD was sewer slide. A few hours later, around 2 p.m., my sister, whom passed away, her widowed boyfriend got a random call on his cell phone. The caller ID on his phone did not display a call number, time, area code, call duration, or anything. It just went straight to voicemail. He played the message on speaker, and unbelievably, it was my sister's voice. She was saying, "It's me," and her name. Her voice sounded frantic, almost, and it sounded like she was underwater. We siblings and widowed boyfriend all heard it, and we all agreed it was her voice. How that call message was made, I will never know. She was in the morgue, deceased. This is just one paranormal experience I have had in my life. Maybe I'll blog about my dog Sebastian, who passed away in 2018, but managed to make physical contact with me in spirit form once. Rest in peace, sister. Yeah, the only experience that I've had like that was we used to have snow accounts for plowing and shoveling and salting the sidewalks and stuff. And the lady who was the manager of the realty and property company that we were working under had passed away the year before. And the following year, winter, it was a really, really deep and hardcore snow. And we had ended up not working with the company anymore because the new management was just a bunch of asshats. But we get a call from her in the morning, early morning, when you'd get called and told, "Hey, there's a lot of snow over here on this account." It was her number and everything. We were just like, what the heck? Because she was dead. And picked it up, and there was no response, no answer, no nothing, no dial tone. It was just silence, but that was super trippy. This one is by user Puss_C. In a haunted apartment, it took form when I watched the movie Passion of the Christ. Me and my new girlfriend, wife now, were living in a badly haunted apartment. From locked doors opening, things floating in the air, things knocking over, bad feelings, perfectly stacked DVDs being knocked over to gut me, to banging on the bedroom door like it was the police while we were attempting, in all honesty, terror, to sleep. One day it took form. We were in the bedroom watching TV when I put on the movie Passion of the Christ. My wife had never seen it. The room door was open and we both could see a fair portion into the living room. During the movie, out of the corner of my eye, I could see someone blurry standing there, but when I glanced, it faded really fast. Every time it would appear closer to the doorway. Not to alarm my new girlfriend, I ended up shutting the door practically in its face. We finished the movie. She ran, and then she asked me if I wanted to stay at her parents' house. I said sure, why not? We got in the car. As she started to drive, I said, "Did you see it?" She said, "Yes. You shut the door in its effing face." It kept getting closer. I'm done. I'm moving back into my parents' house. I didn't go back for a few days, to which I had a person bless the place. I then got everything and broke my lease. At that point, you can't really prove it, but generally they know, they just don't tell you. But yeah, that is crazy. I'm sorry you went through that. This one is by Snowtrooper_. What's the most unsettling paranormal encounter you've had that couldn't be explained? Hey everyone, I'm Catholic, and while I believe in the spiritual world and my faith, I'm still a skeptic when it comes to the paranormal. I've always been fascinated by the unknown and those stories that make you question what's really out there. I'm curious to hear about your most unsettling paranormal experiences, especially the creepy and unsettling things. I get that there's a lot of debate about the paranormal, especially from a Catholic perspective, and I'm not here to start arguments about demons or ghosts. I'm just genuinely curious about people's experiences. So if you've had something creepy, frightening, or downright unsettling happen to you that you couldn't explain, feel free to share. And if anyone has had experiences that tie into Christian theology like angels, spiritual encounters, or anything in that realm, I'd love to hear those too. Thanks for sharing, and God bless. awesome_possum22 again. Wow. When I was young, probably around 7, we lived in a house on a dead-end road, and across from us was a large apartment complex. I was friends with 2 twin boys my age, and their dad was the super of the apartment complex. This comes into importance later. One night I awoke to the room, and it had an odd glow, like a reddish glow that somewhat illuminated my room enough to vaguely see my surroundings. At the foot of my bed stood a tall cloaked figure. I could not make out any features on this figure, but just a black silhouette of a hooded figure that resembled like medieval monk's cloak, the kind with the peaked hood. I was frozen in fear. Finally, after what felt like forever, I was able to dive under my covers and scream bloody murder for my parents. When my parents got to my room and I emerged from the protection of the covers, the figure and the glow was gone. Fast forward a few months. A bad storm hit our area. Behind the apartment complex from my home was a feed and seed store. During the storm, this store was struck by lightning and caught fire. It was a huge fire. I can remember looking out my window and seeing the glow from the flames beyond the apartments and what appeared to be a dark tornado of smoke. Come to find out, the store had been illegally storing large barrels of pesticides and chemicals in their basement. The entire neighborhood needed to evacuate, and quickly. My family quickly gathered some possessions, and we booked it out of there as fast as possible. My friends, the twins, their dad, stayed behind to evacuate the tenants of the apartments and make sure everyone got out safely. He was one of the last to leave. We were not allowed back to our homes for almost a week following the fire. What we came back to looked like a deserted wasteland. All of the grass was dead and a nasty brown color. Trees were wilted and dying, and small animals like rabbits left in the backyard hutch or small animals kept in door enclosures like hamsters were all deceased. It was obvious that whatever blew up and burned in that feed and seed fire was truly hazardous. Then a few months go by and people start getting sick. Not a little sick, like cancers and leukemia sick. My friend's dad ended up being diagnosed with aggressive leukemia, and after a very brief fight, he passed away just 2 months after being diagnosed. He was Catholic, and his service was held in a grand old cathedral in our neighborhood, the kind with those large, beautiful stained glass windows depicting different saints and scenes wrapped around the church. The way the windows were, from the inside, each row of pews looked to their right or left and was flanked by a window scene. During the service, I look up and to my right to peek at the window above our row. My heart froze. The window background was hues of red and pink glass. The main depiction on this glass panel was that of a large hooded cloaked figure. I don't know how or why, but I immediately knew this was the same figure from my room. I somehow made it through the service, and on my way home told my parents and asked who the figure in the window depicted. They were not religious and didn't know, but stated it was most likely a saint. They didn't seem to take much stock in my ascertains, and it was dropped. I don't know if I received a warning or a premonition. I truly believe my family was directly affected by this fire as well. My father became fully disabled 2 years afterwards. Almost stroke-like severe symptoms, but not a stroke. The doctors could not pinpoint a definitive diagnosis. I have spent a lifetime with chronic illness, autoimmune disease, and have had to have many, many benign tumors removed over my life. My luck finally ran out, and my latest tumor ended up being cancer. I wonder if the visitor was warning. I'll never know, but it was a truly scary experience I will never forget. I wonder if she could go back and sue that company. Hopefully it's a big one, because that's not cool. Oh man. Some more paranormal pictures. There's one here by Doc DAHK16. Slapped by a ghost. I got these fingerprints on my back after spending a significant amount of time in our recent real estate acquisition. Pardon my hairy grossness. Also the large scars from an unrelated melanoma removal. We bought another rundown renovation project. We took some time to peruse it with the realtor on our final walkthrough prior to closing and make some plans, check on some different potential issues going forward, etc. It was cold and we all had coats on. No way getting marks that bright would have happened without me feeling something, especially with a heavy Carhartt jacket on. My wife noticed the fingerprint marks on my back after I got out of the shower. She said I had marks on my back and tried to explain them away by saying it was probably from carrying concrete on my shoulder or from rubbing on a bench at the gym doing chest, but she showed me that, and that ain't none of that. It looks like two dark fingers, like it looks bruised, and then two lighter ones, so it looks like the ring finger, the middle finger, and then the index finger is really, really pale, and then the pinky finger is as well. Someone did die in there last August. A drug overdose was most likely the reason, so given the traumatic nature of the death, there could be a lingering presence. The person in question was a woman in her 30s. Those handprints are consistent in size with a woman's hands, especially given the spacing and size of the fingers. I actually knew her, acquaintance growing up and such. Now, I'm not a heavy believer in all this paranormal stuff, however, these really look like fingerprints and nothing, and no one else in my recent history had hit me hard enough to leave such a mark. So I guess TLDR, I got slapped by a ghost. What does it mean and what do? I just want to peacefully move ahead with these renovations, not get pushed off a ladder while I'm trying and to paint because the ghost hates me or whatever. Maybe she's just trying to get your attention, is what I'm thinking. I mean, there might not be any malicious intent. And you said you knew her. And she'd probably been yelling at you and trying to communicate, and like I said, you didn't hear her, so she resorted to making physical contact, which it appears you didn't notice until later when the marks appeared. But man, those are pretty amazing pictures. Yeah, it shows another angle of them, and it's just like I said, you can see 4 fingers, 2 dark, 2 light. What, are they on each side? Yeah. Wow. Looks like she whacked him twice with the same hand. Thank you so much once again for hanging out with me tonight on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. Thank you to all of my friends on We Are Paradox Media's Facebook, Spreaker, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, iHeartRadio, wherever you may be listening, Beyond The Omniverse tonight. I had a wonderful time, and I can't wait to do it again next weekend, where we once again have story time with me, TessaTNT. We're going to be finishing up the book of Charlie and the Shadow something. The Shadow League, or League of Shadows. Yeah, Charlie Hernandez and the League of Shadows. And then beginning a new book. And then, by that time, I should have access to StreamYard and be able to get back into YouTube and doing a video there. Because I miss my YouTube peeps, which you guys can still listen to the Spreaker podcast on YouTube. Just no videos for a little bit. But don't forget, fam, we are all in this together. Together, we can make the world a bit better. And together, my friends, we are Paradox Media, because without you, there really is no us. Until next time, nighty-night, love and light. Have a wonderful rest of your Sunday evening and a wonderful week ahead. Please don't work too hard. Don't take things so seriously, and live every day like it's your last. Live every day like you're dying. It's some really good advice. Because, like it said for our quote for the 3rd hour, you can't get much done by starting tomorrow. Night-night, love and light.